This book is called Thirsty, and it's written by M.T. Anderson. So if you've read Feed or Octavian Nothing and enjoyed those, they were also written by M.T. Anderson. So there's a good chance that you'll like Thirsty. Now in Thirsty, we meet Chris, and Chris is a pretty typical high school student. He's growing up in a small town in Massachusetts, but we quickly learn that this town is a little bit unusual because it has a rather large vampire population. Fortunately for everyone who lives in the town, they have established a very successful program of identifying vampires, capturing them, and killing them. And so there aren't many deaths or incidents because all the citizens are very willing and eager to turn someone in as soon as they realize that they are a vampire. Now Chris is going along with his pretty typical life when all of a sudden the very best day of his entire life happens, and the prettiest girl in the entire school, named Rebecca, comes and speaks to him. And so Chris is just overjoyed, though unfortunately the next day is the very worst day of his entire life when he discovers that he in fact is turning into a vampire. Now, fortunately, someone named Chet, who we learn is a celestial being, approaches Chris and makes a deal with him. And Chet says that if Chris helps him save the world, Chet will turn him back into a human being. Now, Chris thinks about this for a while and realizes that there's really nothing he can do besides agree with Chet because he needs to be a human being. Unfortunately for Chris, this process of saving the world is not happening fast enough. So Rebecca keeps inquiring about Chris, and Chris keeps having some very sticky situations as he's trying to hide the fact that he is turning into a vampire. So I'm going to read a passage from Thirsty where we see Chris struggling with one of these very situations as Chris's father tries to teach him how to shave. The razor slips just a fraction, and I say, "Ow!" He's saying, "There, now you've cut yourself." But what I'm noticing is the obvious thing. I can smell the steely tang of my blood. I dive to the floor. I cry, "Blood!" I can feel my thirst rising. In a few seconds, I won't be visible in the mirror. "What's wrong?" Dad asks. "I dropped the razor," I said. "Can I do this alone? I think I need to learn to do this alone." "Why? This is just the first time. You're bound to cut yourself once the first time." I rise up halfway and start pushing him to the door, but I'm hunched over below the level of the counter. "Get out," I whine. "Could you get out, Dad? I want to do this alone." "Hey, okay, he says, backing out. "What's the problem?" "I'd rather do this myself," I say. "That's enough bonding for now." He steps out, and I slam the door behind him, and I press the lock in with my thumb. When I'm alone, I recite 5 times, "Shit, shit, shit, shit." I step over to the mirror where, of course, my reflection no longer appears. "What's the matter with him?" my mother asks. "I don't know," my father answers, sounding weary. "It was only a little cut." I consider what to do. My face is slithering with shaving cream, but not in the mirror. The foam is dropping on my shirt. I hold up my hand right next to the mirror and press it against the cool glass. It leaves a baby breath trace of mist. Otherwise, nothing. I'll have to fly this thing blind. It's like one of those airplane disaster movies. "Just remember," my father is saying through the door, "up and down, but never sideways." "Are you okay, Chris?" my mother pleads. "What's the problem?" I hear Paul ask. My hand is shaking. I raise my razor to my face again. I am surrounded by the accusatory stares of the wall cockatoos. Carefully, I drag the razor down my lip again. I touch it with my finger. More red. I start licking. The shaving cream is not nearly as sweet as it seems. The blood is good and salty. There isn't much from just 2 wounds. So I take a couple of exploratory scrapes with the razor. Without the razor, this is just a joke. I'm cutting the hell out of my face. And I'm loving it. I'm licking and licking like I'm one big happy fudgicle. And pretty soon, I'm laughing, and the jazzy cockatoos are laughing with me. Mom and Dad and Paul are still calling into me. Chris, are you okay? Chris, is it going all right? Hey, Chris, are you done? I gotta whiz. But I can barely contain myself. I've dropped the razor in the sink, and I'm standing there as light as invisibility, and licking and laughing and licking. I laugh and laugh. Oh, can you? I hoot, and no one understands.